My name is Claire Donovan, 35 years old, a single mother who learned to stay silent at family dinners. Until one day, that silence made my daughter pay the price. Every year, we still gather at the old house on Halcyon Street, where the scent of wine covers the smell of pretense. That evening, amid the clinking glasses and empty compliments, I realized Emily, my 8-year-old daughter, had vanished. When I opened the bathroom door on the second floor, steam poured out, carrying muffled sobs, and my child's blonde hair lay scattered across the floor like shredded sunlight. By the sink, my sister Brooke leaned against the wall, phone in hand, smiling. Relax. Sis, it's just a joke. In that moment, I couldn't hear anything anymore, only my daughter's heartbeat, and another sound breaking inside me, the end of my endurance. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from. I read every comment. And if you've ever had to stand up for your child against your own family, leave a comment below. Hit like and subscribe, because maybe this story will touch a corner of your own heart. Jazz music floated from the old speaker, blending with the smell of wine and grilled meat. The last rays of daylight slid through the glass windows, painting the large dining room in gold, everything arranged so perfectly it felt fake. My mother, Linda Mercer, moved around the table like a commanding officer. She adjusted the silverware, then glanced at me. Claire, you're folding the napkins wrong again. I smiled and stayed silent. In this house, reacting meant declaring war. My father, Charles, stood on the porch grilling meat. He was always the quiet one, the kind of silence people called keeping the peace. And Brooke, my sister, showed up late as usual. Red dress, dazzling smile, heavy Chanel perfume. Sorry. Traffic, she said, air-kissing Mom before turning to me. You look so plain tonight, but hey, it kinda works for you. I murmured. At least I showed up on time. Linda pretended not to hear, pouring wine for Brooke. Busy people are like that. The words were light, but in that bright room, I could hear the pride aimed squarely at the daughter she always favored. Emily, my daughter, sat by the window, doodling on a napkin. Grandma, can I help with something? She asked. Linda gave a thin smile. Just sit tight. Sweetheart, don't get your dress dirty. The light in my child's eyes dimmed a little. I patted her head. It's okay. Honey. Brooke glanced over and smirked. Her hair's gorgeous, looks like a doll's. A chill brushed the back of my neck. When dinner was almost over, Emily's chair was empty. Has anyone seen her? I asked. Brooke didn't look up from her phone. She's probably playing with the kids. I nodded, trying to suppress the unease. But 5 minutes, then 10 passed. I stood up. Linda frowned. Sight down. Claire. She's fine. I didn't answer. Stepping inside, the air changed colder. Still, as if someone had turned the music off. The hallway was long and dim. Yellow light washed over the family photos lining the wall. I called out. Emily, no reply. I checked every room. Everything was tidy. So tidy it felt wrong. Then I heard it whir, a small, steady sound coming from the end of the hall. The bathroom door was slightly ajar. White light spilling through. My palms were slick with sweat as I walked closer. Emily, I whispered. No answer. Only the smell of soap mixed with hot metal. I pushed the door open. The world stopped. My daughter sat on the tiled floor, hands covering her head, shoulders trembling. All around her were strands of golden hair, scattered like fragments of sunlight. The clipper still buzzed on the sink, its stale blade gleaming cold. Oh my God. Emily, I ran to her. She looked up, eyes swollen and red. Mom, I didn't want this. Behind me came a familiar voice. Calm down. Sis, it's just hair. I turned, Brooke stood there, holding her phone. Camera still recording. What did you do? It's a prank. Don't overreact, she said with a shrug. I felt myself falling, every sound fading, except my daughter's heartbeat against my shoulder. I looked at Brooke, my voice raw. You'll regret this. Footsteps sounded at the door. Linda appeared, still wearing her white apron. Calm as ever. What's going on? Dinner's getting cold. I turned, clutching Emily tight. She shaved my daughter's head. Mom, look at her. Linda glanced over, then shrugged. Hair grows back. Don't make a scene. In that cold light, I looked at them, my mother and my sister, and realized that sometimes the cruelest thing in life carries your own last name. The bathroom was still brightly lit. The light reflected off the fallen strands of hair, turning the gold into a cold gray. The scent of soap and metal mixed together, thick enough to choke. Emily trembled in my arms, her small body still shaking with every sob. I wrapped her in a white towel and gently wiped the foam still clinging to the back of her neck. It's okay. Mommy's here, I whispered. But I wasn't okay. My eyes burned. My hands shook. And my breath came so fast I could hear it, behind me. Linda sighed. Claire. Stop it. You're scaring everyone. I turned to her, meeting her eyes. Scaring them. Of what? Of someone being held accountable. Linda avoided my gaze, adjusted her apron, and said in that same calm tone, Keep your voice down. The guests are downstairs. I let out a sharp laugh. Guests. Right. Saving face matters more than saving people. A notification pinged. All three of us looked toward Brooke. She had just hit send. Everyone needs to relax, Brooke said, her voice sickly sweet. It was just a little prank. Then I saw it, the Mercer family reunion chat icon flashing on her screen. The video had been sent when I was 16. Brooke had done something similar. The night before the prom, the dress I'd dreamed about for months was slashed open across the back. She just shrugged. I thought you'd lost weight. In college, she told my boyfriend I was cheating. I found out when he threw the ring at my face in the middle of the quad. Brooke filmed it and laughed. Then at my wedding, she spilled red wine all over my gown, right in front of the photographer. Linda pulled me aside and whispered, Don't make a scene. She didn't mean it. 3 times. 3 scars. And every time, I stayed silent because I thought silence would keep the family together. Now I know. Silence only teaches the cruel how to strike harder. I clenched my fists. On the floor, the clipper still buzzed, that distorted mocking sound echoing from the past. I carried Emily down the stairs. The entire house sank into heavy silence. In the kitchen, the clinking of spoons against glasses stopped as everyone looked up. Linda followed behind, her smile stiff. Everyone. It's just a small thing. A small thing. My daughter buried her face in my shoulder, her towel hood damp and cold. Brooke trailed after us, phone loose in hand. No trace of remorse on her face. At the table, Aunt Patricia stood, her mouth opening, then closing again. Caught between words, the rest of the relatives just glanced and whispered. Some even tried to hide their laughter. Ping. Another sound. The video played on the iPad in the center of the table. Emily's cry echoed through the speakers, high and sharp like a blade. Brooke tilted her head. Oh. Look. Not bad. Huh. I lunged forward, grabbed the iPad, and shut the screen off. Delete it. Now. Linda stepped between us. Claire. Calm down. You're making everyone uncomfortable. Me, who made my child a spectacle at this dinner table. Before I could say more, the video appeared again, this time on another relative's phone. And now I could see it clearly. 2 children, Zach and Abby. Brooke's kids holding Emily's arms while Brooke shaved her head. I felt my blood freeze. You made them do it, I asked. My voice hoarse. Brooke shrugged, leaning back in her chair. Don't be dramatic. They were helping their aunt. The hair will grow back. Claire, it's not about the hair. It's humiliation. Brooke laughed, pouring herself wine. If you're so weak that a few strands of hair can destroy you, then you've already lost. Linda raised a hand. Enough. Let's sit down and finish dinner like adults. Adults. I looked around the table overflowing with food. The golden light gleaming on the polished surface. And yet everything stank of deceit. Charles stood by the porch, his eyes darting between us, saying nothing. Doing nothing. Linda continued. Claire, you need to understand. Family is family. Don't embarrass us. I turned to her, a freezing calm running through my veins. Mom, losing face doesn't kill anyone, but losing your humanity does. Brooke burst out laughing, her voice echoing across the room. God, this sounds like a soap opera. What are you going to do? Call the cops. I looked straight at her. If I have to. And you'd better pray that video isn't already out there. No one laughed anymore. Brooke lowered her glass slowly. The police. For a prank, I stepped closer. For assaulting a minor. The air in the room thickened. Only the ticking clock and my own uneven breath filled the space. Linda murmured. Claire, don't overdo it. No. Mom, I said, my voice low and steady. I've been quiet long enough. I reached out and yanked the phone from Brooke's hand. She screamed. You're insane. The crash echoed as the phone hit the floor, the screen splitting in two. Everyone held their breath. A flash of light flickered through the window, headlights stopping at the gate. Zach ran to the window. Panicked. Is that the police? All eyes turned to me. I said nothing and just placed the shattered phone on the table. I wrapped my arm around Emily as red and blue lights flashed outside the glass, reflecting across Brooke's pale face. Linda whispered. Claire, what have you done? I looked straight at her. What you should have done long ago. The red and blue lights slashed through the curtains like glowing blades. In the dining room, no one spoke. The ticking of the clock echoed steadily, breaking through the heavy sound of Emily's breathing in my arms. Brooke had sunk into her chair, one hand covering her cheek, the other brushing her hair back, her eyes still fixed on the cracked phone screen. Linda stood by the window, fingers interlocked, trying to hold together a smile that had already shattered. Don't take this too far, she said softly, almost pleading. Too far, I repeated, my voice hollow. If the one who got her head shaved were Zach, would you still say that? Mom Linda said nothing. Outside, the siren grew louder. The doorbell rang. Everyone froze. Emily clutched the towel around her head tighter, her small fingers digging into my shirt. Mom. I placed my hand on her back and took a deep breath. It's okay. This time, no one will hurt you again. The second ring pulled me back to the distant years when violence didn't sound like yelling but like a soft smile. When I was 16, the night before prom, I found my new blue dress slashed down the back. Brooke stood in the doorway, chewing gum. You should thank me. Now you look bolder. I cried, and Mother only shook her head. Don't make a fuss. Claire, it's just a dress. That night, I sewed it back together with my craft kit. The crooked stitches looked exactly like the first crack in this family. At 20, I fell in love with Ethan, the only man who ever said my eyes could speak. One afternoon, he threw the engagement ring onto the floor, his face red with anger. Brooke showed me your texts with your ex. There were no texts. Mother said, men are jealous easily. Don't hold it against him. Brooke laughed, filming me as I knelt to pick up the ring in the middle of the college courtyard. On my wedding day, Red wine spilled straight onto my white gown. Brooke covered her mouth to hide her grin. And Mother pulled me into the back room. If you make a scene, the press will laugh. Keep up the family's image. Claire. Image. That word became a rope. When Emily was 3, during the Christmas party, she spilled juice on Brooke's dress. Brooke laughed, kissed her cheek, and looked straight into the camera that was already recording. Don't worry, sweetheart. Auntie's not mad. Later, that sweet clip appeared on social media with the caption, "When your friend's kid ruins your designer outfit." Back then, I still believed that if I stayed quiet long enough, they would change, but the longer I stayed silent, the weaker they thought I was. The phone, Brooke's favorite weapon, had always been in her hand, glowing in every cruel moment. I used to think it was just vanity. Now I knew it was her instrument of power. The police hadn't knocked a third time yet. In that long silence, everything in my mind rearranged itself into sharp, distinct pieces like a case file. Yesterday afternoon, when I brought gifts to Mother's house, I saw a receipt fall out of Brooke's wallet. WAHL cordless hair clipper purchased at 2:47 p.m. I picked it up and snapped a photo with my phone, a habit from years of accounting. Always keeping records. Now, that image sat neatly in the folder titled Home Receipts. I didn't know why I kept it until today. Maybe intuition always knows before reason does. Beside me, Aunt Patricia stepped forward and whispered, "I'll tell them the truth. Claire, enough is enough." I looked at her, the only one brave enough to stand among wolves without trembling. "Thank you," I said. Linda glanced over, eyes sharp with warning. But Patricia didn't flinch. Brooke was still typing secretly. I leaned over, the words glowed on her cracked screen. Zach. Abby. Delete the group chat. That group, I'd seen its name once when Emily borrowed my phone to watch cartoons Cousin Squad. I opened the app and scrolled quickly, my heartbeat pounding. In the auto-saved image folder, a thread of messages appeared. Brooke, hold her arms. I'll film fast. Zach, but she's crying. Brooke, just a few seconds. It's for fun. My throat went dry as I clenched the phone. I rewound the original video on Brooke's device to the final frame and saw clearly the bathroom lock being flipped from the outside. Not an accident. Not a prank. A plan. Charles stepped forward, his voice trembling. Claire, don't make a scene. Please. I'm begging you. I looked at him and remembered the voicemail he'd left a year ago, one I'd kept but never finished listening to. I know you're hurt, but keep the peace. Okay, your mother's in a tough spot. I'd kept the peace for 35 years. Now, I was keeping evidence. The knock came again. 2 officers, 1 man. 1 woman stood on the porch, the flashing lights beating against the wall like a heartbeat. We received a call about an assault on a minor. The female officer said firmly. Linda rushed forward. There must be some misunderstanding. The kids were just playing. Brooke scoffed. Yeah. Just a joke. Hair grows back. Aunt Patricia cut in. No. They forced her. I saw the video myself. The male officer scanned the room. I'll need to see the recording device and speak with the child's guardian. Brooke pulled her hand back, hiding her phone. I deleted it, she said flatly. No problem. The female officer replied, pulling out a report form. We're authorized to retrieve deleted data from the cloud. Sweat gathered on Linda's forehead. Officer, please. Let us explain. No need to explain. I interrupted, my voice calm in a way that scared even me. Just tell the truth. The female officer turned to me. You're the child's mother. Yes. Would you like to file a report and request a temporary protection order right now? The living room was so silent we could hear every tick of the clock. I looked down at Emily. Her eyes were still swollen, her hands gripping the towel tight. Lock the door. Mom. she whispered. Don't let them in again. That sentence sliced through me like a blade. The words of an 8-year-old who no longer trusted her own blood. I held her tighter and saw Brooke's face drain of color, and Linda's hands trembling. Then I looked up at the officer. The red and blue lights still pulsed across the walls. Do it, I said quietly. The pen pressed against paper. Each stroke of ink felt like justice finally carving itself into place. As the officer collected Brooke's phone as evidence, another light flickered to life on the TV behind us. A social media notification. Video, the Mercer family party, 32,000 views. Brooke's mouth fell open. Linda gasped. And I simply closed my eyes. Well, I whispered. Now everyone will see what they called a joke. The door closed behind the two officers, leaving behind a strange kind of emptiness. The faint smoke from the dinner candles mingled with the cold air seeping through the curtains, lingering in a room full of silence. The TV flickered on. No one had touched the remote. On the screen, the party video appeared. The Mercer family party, 52,000 views. Comments rolled rapidly. Call the police. Who filmed this? That poor child. Linda staggered, gripping the back of a chair. Oh my God. They're turning us into a spectacle. No. Mom, I replied quietly. We did that ourselves. Brooke let out a weak laugh, her voice trembling. It's just hair. Claire. Everyone's overreacting. Overreacting, I said evenly, is when adults shave a child's head and film it. Brooke, that's not a joke anymore. A notification pinged, this time from Aunt Nora's phone. The relative who had been inching toward the door. The screen lit up an anonymous message. If you don't take the video down, the bathroom clip will be released. No one spoke. Linda's face went pale. Brooke snatched the phone from Nora's hands and screamed. Who sent this? There was no name, just a smiling face emoji. The darkness in the room seemed to thicken. I could hear the rain starting outside, each drop hitting the glass like a frantic heartbeat. Linda pulled me into the kitchen, where the dim yellow light mixed with the bitter smell of cold coffee. Listen to me, she began urgently. If we calm things down, say it was all a misunderstanding, this can go away. A misunderstanding. I let out a small laugh. An 8-year-old gets her head shaved, filmed, and posted online. And you call that a misunderstanding, Claire? She said, her hands trembling slightly. You have to think long term. This family can't survive another scandal. The press will swarm us. Halcyon Group will take a hit. So, what you're worried about isn't my child, but Halcyon's reputation. Linda lifted her chin, eyes cold as glass. You don't understand. The world doesn't forgive weakness. I'm protecting us. I was weak when I stayed silent. I'm strong when I tell the truth. So I choose strength. Linda tilted her head slightly, her tone low. I just regret. If Kevin finds out the girl was never his, things will get much worse. I froze. What did you just say? She hesitated, panic flickering in her eyes. Nothing. I stepped back, the blood draining from my face. You'd question your own granddaughter's bloodline just to win an argument. She said nothing. The words hung in the air, drifting through the bitter smell of coffee, another crack that would never mend. I said nothing more. I turned away and lifted Emily into my arms. The kitchen felt as cold as an interrogation room. The living room was chaos. Brooke sat curled up, mascara streaking down her cheeks. You're destroying this whole family over one video. She sobbed. It's not the video, I said. It's the person inside it. The officers returned and handed me a printed form. This is the instruction sheet for filing a TRO, a temporary restraining order. The female officer said, we recommend you submit it soon. I signed, my hand trembling but firm. Brooke hiccuped through her tears. I just wanted to have a little fun. I looked at her, my voice sharp as steel. Fun is when no one cries. You don't understand that. Aunt Patricia handed me my coat. Her eyes red. Go. Claire. Don't look back. I nodded, packing Emily's backpack, a few essentials, and a paper bag photos. Her sketchbook. Her teddy bear. Linda sat slumped on the staircase, head in her hands. Silent. Charles just stood there, motionless like carved wood. As I stepped toward the door, the TV behind me flashed on a local news broadcast. Seattle Daily breaking: the Mercer party video sparks online outrage. Police confirm investigation. The image cut to the Halcyon Group logo, followed by photos of Linda and Brooke at a charity gala. Linda sprang up, shouting, turn it off now." But the reporter's voice rang through the speakers. Sources confirm that one woman has filed for a temporary protection order against family members. I didn't turn around. Every step echoed through the hollow house. Outside, light rain fell, the smell of wet earth mixing with the cold Seattle night. Emily sat in the back seat, head resting against her teddy bear, eyes half closed. I started the car. Behind us, the lights of Halcyon Street blurred into a trail of yellow reflections. As the car crossed the bridge, my phone buzzed. A new voicemail. Kevin's voice rough, but steady. I saw the video. I'm booking a flight for tomorrow morning. Keep her safe. Claire. I turned the phone off and gripped the wheel tightly. Raindrops streaked across the windshield, breaking apart under the streetlights like silver lines. Go to sleep, sweetheart, I whispered. From now on, I won't let anyone hurt you again. Emily smiled faintly in her sleep, her small hand clutching the edge of her blanket. I stopped the car in front of the small house at Lakeview. Old, but quiet, a place where no one knew the name Mercer. Before going inside, I looked up at the gray sky and whispered to myself, tomorrow, we start over. That night, the rain fell steady, like a heartbeat. I didn't sleep. I just sat beside her bed, watching her breathe. Something inside me was changing, not anger, but a pure, unwavering clarity, a boundary. 7:30 in the morning. The first sunlight slipped through the curtains. The doorbell rang. I opened it. On the porch stood Linda and Charles, neatly dressed, holding a large silver-wrapped gift bag. Linda smiled, tired, yet calculating. We need to talk about the public statement. I looked at her for a long time and said nothing. Morning in Seattle was dim and gray. Cold light slipped through the curtains, falling in uneven patches across the wooden floor. The doorbell kept ringing, polite, but shamelessly persistent. I opened the door. Linda stood on the porch in a beige coat, lipstick bright enough to hurt the eyes. Charles stood behind her, head bowed, holding a large silver-wrapped gift bag. Claire. Linda forced a smile. I know yesterday was tense. We need to talk privately. I blocked the doorway. Whatever you have to say, say it here. Charles stepped in. Sweetheart, don't be so harsh. We need to keep the peace. Peace, I repeated. After my daughter's head was shaved, Linda sighed and lifted the bag. We wanted to give this, a small gift for little Emily to help her feel confident again. I opened the bag. Inside was a bright blonde wig, carefully sealed in a plastic box, smelling of new chemicals. At the bottom lay a folded sheet of paper. I unfolded it. Linda's handwriting, delicate blue ink. The Mercer family apologizes to the public for the recent misunderstanding. The incident was merely an unfortunate joke. We are cooperating to make amends. I looked up, my voice cold. You brought a wig and a press statement together. She said nothing. A gust of wind swept through, carrying strands of the wig out onto the porch. They curled in the sunlight, golden threads of deceit. I placed the bag back in her hands. You're not coming inside. No one in this family will touch Emily again. From now on, everything goes through my lawyer. Charles grimaced, his voice shaking. Claire, Please. Your mother just wants no. I cut him off. She wants to fix the story, not the damage. Linda tightened her grip on the bag. Lips pressed tight. You'll regret making this public. I tilted my head slightly. No. Mom. You'll regret hiding it. I turned away and got into the car. Emily sat in the back seat, clutching her teddy bear. The streets were still damp with mist. The smell of coffee drifting from the corner cafe. I parked in front of the Central Police Station. Inside, the female officer reviewed my file and nodded. We've created a case record. Case number M11847. You'll receive notice when the court approves the temporary protection order. I signed. Each stroke of the pen sounded like metal, striking metal. The officer asked, Do you have physical evidence I unlocked my phone photos of the Clipper receipt? The group chat message. Hold her arms. The frame of the door lock being flipped. Perfect, she said. We'll add these to the record. Keep your originals secure in case of civil proceedings. I nodded. As I stepped out of the station, my phone vibrated. An email appeared. Your video has been re-uploaded on another site. 14,000 views. I froze on the steps, staring at the words sharp as a blade. The wound hadn't even healed, and they had cut it open again. I hit report and sent it off. But I knew on the internet, stains never really disappear. The smell of exhaust, the blare of horns, and the cold wind swept past like a reminder justice was only beginning. By noon, I called Dr. Broes, Bennett, the therapist who had helped Emily after the divorce. Her voice was low and steady. I saw the news. Can you bring her in this afternoon? I exhaled for the first time in days. Thank you. Don't thank me. What she needs now is someone who believes she's still whole. The clinic was small. The walls painted soft green. Emily sat on the chair, listening as Dr. Bennett guided her to draw the hair you wish to have. When my daughter chose lavender purple, I nearly cried. Doctor. Bennett turned to me. You need a steady plan. Claire. Legal protection is one thing, but school is another. I'll send a note to the school counselor. That afternoon, I called Lakeview Elementary. Principal Rowe answered. We know about the situation. Claire. I'm so sorry. Before Emily returns, we'll host a respect assembly about embracing differences. No one will be allowed to tease her. Thank you, I said. And the district's communications office might contact you for verification if the media asks. I froze. The media. Yes. They've been calling since this morning. The video's gone wide. Right after the call, a new email landed in my inbox. From Lakeview PR Office, subject coordination on media coverage. The last 3 words pricked like needles. Media. Coverage. Coordination. That evening, just as I set down a bowl of soup, the phone rang. Derek Brooke's husband. His voice was hoarse. Claire. I want to apologize. I knew about the Clipper. I saw her buy it. But I didn't stop her. I was a coward. I was afraid of losing the house. I stayed silent, letting him speak. I'll testify if you need me to. I can't live with someone who'd do that to a child. Thank you, I said softly. Not for me for here. After the call ended, the phone rang again, an unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. A professional female voice spoke. Hello, Ms. Donovan. This is Rachel Turner from the Seattle Chronicle. We'd like to interview you about the Halcyon family incident. Would you be willing to share your perspective? I held my breath. Behind me, Emily stepped out of her room, her lavender scarf still wrapped around her head. Mom, she asked softly, if I go to school like this tomorrow, will they laugh again? I looked at her. The reporter's voice still buzzed in my ear, the sound of 2 worlds colliding, one of media, one of truth. I gently set the phone down and knelt to meet her gaze. No. Sweetheart, I whispered. No one can laugh at someone brave enough to stand tall. Outside the window, the city lights reflected in the glass, layering our reflections. One strong, one tender. On the table, the phone still glowed another email from the reporter, request for official statement, deadline tomorrow at 9 a.m. I stared at the words, my hand tightening. Tomorrow. The story would no longer belong to me alone. The next morning, Seattle was wrapped in a thicker fog than usual. The pale light felt cold, like a blank sheet of paper waiting to be written on. On the table, my phone screen still glowed. Request for official statement, deadline 9 a.m. I sat by the window, a cup of cold coffee in hand. Emily ate breakfast at the next table, her lavender scarf still loosely wrapped around her head. 9:02. A knock at the door. A woman with dark brown hair and a long coat stepped inside. Her smile tired but professional. Rachel Turner. Seattle Chronicle. Thank you for agreeing to meet. I nodded and pointed to the chair. No need for formalities. Just call me Claire. Rachel opened her laptop. Hetona gentle. I know this has gone far beyond a family issue, but I want to hear your story not as a victim, but as a mother. I looked out the window, where the morning mist drifted quietly. I don't have a story to tell, I said slowly. Just a truth that needs to be recorded. Rachel looked up. Your truth. Or your daughter's, both. But it starts with hers. Emily lifted her head from her cereal bowl, her eyes bright, silently watching. Would you like this recorded? Rachel asked. I would, I said, so that when my daughter grows up, she'll know we did not stay silent. Rachel hesitated, then lowered her voice. You should know. I just received an email from the Mercer family's office. They sent an official statement. I looked at her. Let me guess, they called it a misunderstanding. Rachel nodded faintly. Exactly. She read in an even tone. The Mercer family deeply regrets the misunderstanding that occurred at a private gathering. The incident has been resolved internally. No one was seriously harmed. And we ask the media to respect the privacy of all parties involved. I gave a small, bitter laugh. No one was seriously harmed. I repeated, my gaze drifting from the window to a patch of light on the floor. That's what they call emotional abuse of an 8-year-old. Rachel said nothing. I placed an envelope on the table and pushed it toward her. Inside were the clipper receipt, the hold her arms messages, and the photo of Emily's unevenly shaved head. I don't have a PR team or media advisors, but I have evidence. Rachel was silent for a moment, then closed her laptop. They're holding a press conference tonight at Halcyon Hall, she said quietly, and they'll try to whitewash everything. Rachel looked at me, her expression a mix of sympathy and respect. Would you like me to quote you? No, I said. Quote, the image. Rachel looked at the photo of Emily with her soft purple hair. You know, she said, sometimes an image tells more truth than any words. She closed her laptop, stood, and gave a polite nod. I hope this time the public sees the right people for who they are. After Rachel left, I drove Emily to school. The morning air was damp, the smell of wet earth blending with the laughter of children. Lakeview Elementary appeared through the mist, the American flag fluttering wet with rain. Emily held my hand as we walked slowly. Curious eyes followed us, hesitant, whispering, Are you okay? Honey, I asked softly. I'm okay. Mom, I want to go in. She let go of my hand. Walking across the yard, her lavender scarf slightly crooked. With every step, the light caught her head like a small halo. Inside the auditorium, the respect assembly began. Principal Rowe stood at the podium. Sometimes, courage isn't shouting the loudest. Courage is staying true to yourself in the noise. Applause filled the room. Emily sat in the third row, her eyes glistening. Then a little girl stepped up, Zoe, Emily's best friend. Her hair cut short. Smiling brightly, I cut my hair to look like my friend. She taught me that hair doesn't make you who you are, but kindness does. The whole hall gasped, then burst into warm, rolling applause. A teacher snapped a photo and posted it on the school page. Courage is contagious. Lakeview Elementary. The first comment appeared beneath it. I know this girl. Her story deserves to be heard. Reading it, my throat tightened. No PR. No statements. Just truth visible. That afternoon, my phone exploded with notifications. Numbers "Stand with Emily" began spreading across social media. Photos of the two girls, one with lavender hair, one with short hair, filled timelines everywhere. Messages of support poured in. You're raising a brave child. One stranger wrote, I used to be Emily. Thank you for not staying silent. Rachel called back, her voice trembling with excitement. Claire, the story's going nationwide. Major outlets are picking it up. For the first time this week, your daughter's hashtag is trending higher than the Mercer family name. I turned on the TV. On the screen, outside Halcyon Hall, Linda stood before the cameras and flashing lights, her white coat and stiff smile on display. Our family would like to assure everyone, she said, that everything has been resolved peacefully. We love our children and grandchildren. I turned the TV off. Emily was coloring at the table. She looked up. Mom, are they talking about us? I brushed her hair gently. Yes, sweetheart. But this time, they're saying it right. The TV switched back on automatically. The reporter's tone, solemn sources indicate that the Mercer family is considering legal action against those who released the video. I stared at the flickering light on the wall. My heart beat steady and slow. So, I whispered, the real fight begins now. Monday morning. The doorbell rang just as I was pouring coffee. At the door stood a man in a gray suit, wearing glasses, holding a white envelope. From Claire Donovan, from Halcyon Legal Group, he said curtly, then turned and left. I opened it. Thicker than I expected. At the top was the Mercer family logo embossed in gray, followed by a header as cold as ice. Cease and desist defamation and invasion of privacy. They demanded I take down the interview, remove Emily's image, and cease spreading false information that harms the reputation of the Mercer family. If not, they would file a lawsuit. I called Megan, my attorney. She answered after 3 rings. They're panicking. Megan said, the video is evidence of a criminal act. No one can use privacy rights to cover up child abuse. I stared out the window. Sunlight pierced the fog, glinting off the paper like a blade. What do we do now? I asked. Stay calm. I'll file a legal response. And Claire, start backing up everything properly. Following the chain of custody. A ping from my laptop. A system email appeared. King County Court hearing scheduled for TRO request Wednesday. 9 a.m. I inhaled deeply. Justice finally had a time and a date. That afternoon, Aunt Patricia called, her voice trembling but resolute. I have something. A photo from the party. Linda was right there when Brooke played the clip for the relatives. She can't say she didn't know. I opened the file she sent. The yellow glow of the chandeliers. Linda's half smile clear as day. At the same time, Derek texted, I found Brooke's card receipt, wall clipper. Purchased for video demo. I'll testify if needed. Then a third message came from Rachel Turner. An anonymous source at Halcyon Hall sent me a copy of the media coaching contract Linda signed 2 days before the press conference. I leaned back in my chair, heart pounding. The mask was cracking. Another message from Rachel. A major influencer at Justice Mom just posted number Stand with Emily. 1.2 million followers. The pressure's shifting. I watched the hashtag climb to the top of the trending list. It felt like someone, somewhere, was pushing back the darkness with collective light. That night, I sat before a blank social media screen, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. I wasn't writing to argue. I was writing to redefine the story. I am not a victim of social media. I am the mother of a child who was hurt by disrespect. I believe in justice. But more importantly, I believe in kindness. Please help us by not sharing the original video. Protecting children begins with respecting consent. I pressed post. No image. No hashtag. Just truth. 3 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Megan had sent a PDF, the legal response to the Mercer lawyers. We deny all allegations. Halcyon Group is required to preserve all devices, cameras, and accounts for investigation. Any retaliatory action against the victim will be considered obstruction and legal reprisal. I read it and smiled. Short, sharp like a blade cutting through the last rope. That evening's news update, platforms have begun removing the Mercer party video due to violations of child safety policies. On screen, an image of Emily at the Respect Assembly appeared, replacing the old clip. A different world was starting to take over. Just as I was about to turn off the TV, my phone buzzed, an unknown number. A screenshot appeared. Linda. Make it look like a prank. I'll handle Claire later. Timestamp, 10:47 a.m., the day of the party. Evidence straight from her own hands. I sat frozen, pulse thudding in my wrist. Megan texted immediately. Save it. Don't send it to anyone but me. The night before the hearing, the apartment was silent. I sat at the desk, rereading my statement. Each word felt like a needle, but the kind that stitches you back together. Emily padded out of her room, wearing star-patterned pajamas. Mom, do I have to say anything tomorrow? No. Sweetheart, I'll speak for both of us. She nodded and placed her teddy bear on the table. Borrow my luck. Okay. When she slept, I listened to the rain tapping against the porch. The hallway light stretched our shadows across the wall, then ding-dong. I opened the door. Charles stood there, coat drenched, eyes red. Claire, your mother was wrong, and so was I. I was afraid to stand up to them, but he pulled a silver USB drive from his pocket and placed it in my hand. The hallway security camera from that night. I copied it. Give it to Megan. I looked at the small object in my palm, the metallic glint reflecting through raindrops. Thank you. Dad, I whispered. All I ever wanted was the truth. He nodded, then turned and disappeared into the rain. My phone lit up again. A message from Megan DA's office wants to meet tomorrow morning before the TRO hearing. The glow from the screen reflected across my tired but steady face. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of court, because this time, the truth was on my side. Early morning rain fell over Seattle, thin as mist. He drove toward King County Court, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Emily sat in the back seat, her head resting against the window, breathing softly. Megan sat beside me, a thick case file clutched between her hands. We're not going there for revenge, she said quietly. We're going to affirm the truth. I nodded, the green traffic light reflecting in my eyes calm before the storm. The conference room was small, lit by pale fluorescent light. The assistant district attorney, Linda Caro, around 50, stern-faced, sat across from me. We've reviewed the footage and the police report. She began. The incident meets criteria for assault on a minor and child endangerment, MSS. Donovan, do you have any additional evidence not yet submitted? I took out the silver USB Charles had given me and placed it on the table, the hallway camera recording from the Mercer house. I said. Caro signaled for her aide to load the file. The video appeared Brooke holding the clipper, Linda standing at the end of the hallway, arms crossed, doing nothing to stop it. The room fell silent. Megan slid another folder forward, the clipper purchase receipt. The text message, make it look like a prank, And Derek's written statement. Caro nodded, her eyes sharp. I'll file for a seizure warrant for their devices. If you agree, we'll also submit a recommendation for prosecution. Before leaving, she added softly, there's someone else, not your father. Not Derek, who sent a copy of the footage to my office. It seems someone inside the Mercer house no longer wants to protect them. I froze. For the first time, their family had started to fracture for real. The courtroom was small, the lighting cold, and the ceiling so high it swallowed sound. Linda sat across from me in a dark dress, pearls gleaming on her neck, with Brooke beside her, face pally. When the judge entered, everyone rose. The sound of chairs scraping echoed like a blade cutting through the air. Case Donovan versus Mercer. Request for temporary restraining order, the clerk announced. Megan stood. Your Honor, my client submits copies of the video, photographic evidence, and documentation of child endangerment. Linda interjected, her tone sharp. We maintain this was a prank with no malice. The footage was edited and taken out of context. The judge looked up. Gossip Biersing. Mrs. Mercer, are you aware that the full, unedited video was recovered from your own hallway camera? Megan tapped the laptop. The video played laughter, pleading, and the harsh buzzing of clippers. The courtroom went silent. Only the sound of rain tapping against the window remained. Brooke lowered her head. I didn't mean. Linda snapped. Enough, but the judge said evenly. No. Let her speak. Brooke trembled, tears spilling down her cheeks. I just wanted Mom to notice me. She told me to make Emily more humble. I didn't realize. Linda spun toward her, color draining from her face. The judge turned to me. Ms. Donovan, would you like to extend the protective order to witnesses or school staff? Given the media attention, I glanced at Megan, then replied, if necessary. We're ready. But for now, we just want Emily to have peace. The judge's eyes softened. Understood. The gavel struck. The court grants a temporary restraining order for 60 days. The respondents are prohibited from contacting or approaching the victim. The sound echoed like a heartbeat coming back to life. I gripped Megan's hand. She nodded slightly. We did it. The judge handed the file to the prosecution. The case will be referred to the district attorney's office for potential criminal charges. Court adjourned. As I stepped out, my phone buzzed nonstop. The first notification: Halcyon Group internal statement. Linda Mercer is temporarily suspended from her spokesperson duties pending investigation. The second, from a social platform, 120 posts containing the original video have been removed thanks to community reports. I inhaled deeply. For the first time, justice had a scent like clean rain after a storm. The last message came from Rachel Claire. Number: Justice for Emily just hit 2.5 million mentions. People aren't gossiping anymore. They're protecting her. I looked at my phone screen. Emily's picture from the Respect Assembly was pinned at the top. Beneath it, thousands of red hearts glowed, forming a silent wall of solidarity. Outside the courthouse, light rain continued to fall, merging with the chill of the air. Emily walked out hand in hand with Megan. Did we win? Mom, she asked. Not yet, I said softly. But today, justice knows your name. Her small smile warmed the wet gray courtyard. Megan touched my shoulder. Start preparing your victim impact statement. The DA will need it for the formal charges or plea deal. I nodded. Tonight, as we reached the car, my phone rang again. The name on the screen made my heart sink. Brooke Mercer. He hesitated, then answered. Her voice was broken, stripped of arrogance. Claire, I need to talk. Before things get worse. I said nothing. Outside, rain drummed on the car roof, counting each second before another truth surfaced. At the same moment, another notification appeared from Assistant DA Caro. The plea offer condition is ready. Need your decision tonight. I stared at the two overlapping messages, one from the person who caused the pain, one from justice itself. Two worlds, both demanding an answer. I turned off the phone and looked into the rearview mirror, Emily's face reflected in the rainy light. Calm and trusting. It's okay, sweetheart, I whispered. But inside, I knew tonight would not be easy. It was already dark when Megan returned to my office. The desk lamp cast its glow through the glass door, lighting up a thick file clipped neatly together. Plea offer, Mercer, State of Washington. She slid it toward me gently, her tone calm like a doctor reading test results. Brooke agreed to plead to a lesser charge. She said, assault on a minor, reduced to reckless endangerment. In exchange, there are conditions. I turned the pages. Civil restitution, 400 hours of community service, 18 months of mandatory counseling, a permanent no-contact order with Emily. I paused at the last line, written apology supervised by the court. She still hasn't called me, I said. Megan nodded. But she will have to. The plea only stands if the victim reads a victim impact statement during sentencing. Outside, rain drummed against the awning. My phone lit up Brooke Mercer. I glanced at Megan. She stirred. Answer it if you can stay calm. I picked up. Claire. Brooke's voice was weak, trembling. I'm not trying to justify anything anymore. I just want to say I'm sorry. Sorry because you were caught. Or because of what you did. A long silence. Then a shaky breath. Both. I looked at Emily's photo on my desk. If you mean it, say it publicly. Not to me, to the child you hurt. 2 days later, the DA's office sent an update. A portion of the restitution will fund the Bright Roots Foundation, supporting bullied children and victims of school-related abuse. My throat tightened as I read. Sometimes, justice begins right where the pain once lived. The courtroom that morning smelled of fresh ink and damp wool. I sat in the witness chair, holding my victim impact statement. Emily wasn't required to attend, but she insisted. I want to hear you tell the truth. Mom, she said, when the judge allowed it. I stood. My voice trembled at first, then steadied that day. I found my child in the bathroom. Her hair covered the floor like cut petals. And in that moment, I understood what it means to lose trust in your own family. Brooke kept her head down. Linda stared forward, her hands clenched tight as if gripping air. Ms. Mercer, I continued. I don't want to see you as an enemy. I just want you to understand that what you did made a child believe her appearance was her fault. I don't need you to redeem yourself with words, but with how you live, so no one else goes through the same pain. My voice cracked at the end. In the quiet, only the clerk's typing filled the air. The judge reviewed the file, then spoke. Plea accepted. Defendant Brooke Mercer. 400 hours of community service, mandatory psychological counseling, and completion of a consent education program. A permanent no-contact order with Emily Donovan is hereby issued. As for Mrs. Linda Mercer, the court acknowledges acts of concealment and directive influence, recommending community supervision and audit review of Halcyon Group. As the gavel fell, the judge added softly, the court orders a private apology session, no cameras, no audience, because sometimes truth only grows in silence. Linda looked up, eyes wet for the first time. Real. No performance. No mask. A week later, Halcyon Group issued an official statement. Mrs. 180. Linda Mercer will withdraw from the charity board and suspend public activity pending completion of an independent audit. No pearls. No pastel dresses. Only silence, the kind that follows people who once thought themselves untouchable. Rachel Turner published a new article in the Seattle Tribune, From Tragedy to Recovery, When a Community Learns Accountability. No sensational headline. No blame. just a story about a child relearning what safety means. Emily's school held a Respect and Kindness Day. She stood on stage, presenting a poster drawn in colored pencil, "Consent equals kindness." Beside her was Zoe, the friend who had cut her hair short in solidarity. Parents, teachers, students, everyone was silent. At the end, the principal hurried over. "Claire, we just received an anonymous donation, $250,000 for the Bright Roots Foundation." I was stunned. Megan checked her phone, her eyes brightening. The transfer note says, "For her art, from a father who finally learned." I didn't need to ask Charles. A month later, Seattle glowed under sunlight. I was back teaching community art classes, the scent of oil paint and soft brushstrokes filling the room. Emily sat by the window, her new hair grazing her shoulders. Ends tinted lavender, the color of courage. She said, "Megan's email arrived. The DA's office proposes a restorative meeting, an optional, supervised session between the victim and the Mercer family. Not mandatory. Your and Emily's decision." I read it several times. Emily noticed, asking softly, "Will I have to see them?" "Mom." I looked at her, no fear in her eyes. Just the curiosity of someone growing up, only when you're ready. I said, "Forgiveness isn't an obligation. It's a right." On the screen, the invitation displayed 2 buttons. Accept, decline. The late afternoon light reflected across it, catching both our faces side by side. I hovered over accept, then paused. Outside, children laughed in the playground. Life had returned. But differently. Perhaps justice isn't only about punishment. It's about learning how to see each other again, after the truth has finally been spoken. Some wounds don't leave scars on the skin. They live in the way we hesitate to trust, in how we must relearn the meaning of the word safety. Claire and Emily have lived through that, not to prove they're stronger than anyone, but to understand that justice isn't just a verdict, it's a boundary, the line between what we endure and what we'll never accept again. Sometimes, forgiveness doesn't come from mercy, but from realizing we deserve peace. And like Emily's lavender hair, everything once cut away can grow back, if nurtured with love, truth, and courage. If you've ever faced a wound like this, been dismissed, silenced, or forced to protect the child within you, know this: you are not alone. Strength isn't never falling, it's standing up, even while you still tremble. Before this video ends, tell me where you're watching from, and what helped you overcome those who once hurt you. I read every comment, because every healing story deserves to be heard. Tap like if you believe kindness still has a voice. And subscribe if you want to join us as we continue telling stories of rebirth, truth, and the light that follows darkness. See you in the next story of faith and truth.